Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of MoFutbol. This is your guest Musa, as you probably know, but also known as Mo. And today I have a fellow podcaster slash soccer fanatic with Karim Ray, a former semi-pro player that played in England, France, Canada, and the US. So very well traveled like myself. So another exciting episode where we'll be talking not only about his pro soccer experience, but also podcaster and founder of a club, we'll say, and a podcast. So, how you doing, Karim? And how's life treating you so far?
Mo, thank you so much for having me on. I love the work that you're doing with your podcast and super excited to be on.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and I think we may have started the whole podcasting thing maybe close almost at the same time. I think I saw one of your previous interviews. I I don't know if it was for Gold TVs, I think, or
That's one of the not too far off interviews I've done. Yeah,
yes,
but
I think that was my very first introduction of Karim. So for those people that don't really know about you, could you tell them a little bit about Karim and your 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 pro soccer experience?
absolutely. Yeah, so currently the CEO and co-founder at One Soccer Nation. Our goal is to give unknown superstars the chance to go pro. I played myself for 2 decades, starting at the age of 4, all the way from grassroots to semi-pro levels, as you mentioned, in Canada. Played in France for 3 months, trying to go pro over there. Played in England, trying to go pro in England, and then the last country I was in playing semi-pro was in the United States, where I was playing with Naples United FC in the NPSL Division 4 in the United States, quote unquote semi-professional soccer on quoted by Google, and soccer has been such a big part of my life and such a powerful sport, and that's played by millions of people around the world. So I just knew, when my playing days were coming to an end, I still wanted to stick in it. So at the age of 18, I wrote a soccer book, published it at 19. It's called I Want to Become a Professional Soccer Player. It's on Amazon Print on Demand. It's a green book. You could just type in
Nice.
my name, Kareem Ray, and you'll find it on Amazon. And then in regards to the podcast, I started 2020, the One Soccer Nation podcast, and I've done about I always say 250. It's now over 250. It's definitely 300 plus interviews that I've done with players in MLS,
Nice.
USL Championship, USL One, players all over the world, coaches, scouts, agents, club owners. One of my favorite interviews I like to do. We've had architects on. So everyone a part of the beautiful game on and off the field we've had on the One Soccer Nation podcast. Just to name drop some of the big interviews I've done. We've had Brett Johnson, the $400 million project in Rhode Island,
Yeah.
northeast of the map of the United States. The biggest one I've done so far was Steve Livingstone in Florida, Jacksonville, $1 billion mixed use development project, soccer being the anchor of it, supporting Jacksonville, if I'm saying the club's name correctly. And the last one I'll mention is Garrett Green, owner of Union Omaha, so part of that ownership group. So had the opportunity to spend time with such high profile, high net worth individuals that are doing such amazing things in the beautiful game in the United States. So I think podcasting has been a great tool for networking. As you know, you
Yeah.
get to connect with so many amazing people, and focus on what you want to focus on. For us, it's all everything we do is soccer, and then coming up towards the club side. So one Soccer Nation has two sides. We have the media side, which I've just mentioned, and then the
Right.
second side is the soccer investment side, which is more private, more behind the scenes. And it goes back to giving unknown superstars the chance to go pro, and how we plan on doing that is by launching our own professional soccer club that we're currently working on in USL One, as well as a professional women's team as well, probably under
Nice.
the same umbrella in USL. Not super. It might not be Super League, but I know USL is doing some works in regards to launching another women's league. But with saying that, we're in the process of that. We've done market research in a few markets: California, Nevada, Texas, Georgia, Florida, New Hampshire. We landed on a market. We're currently right now in discussions with the city, and it's a process. It's a slow burn, but again, it's within the beautiful game that I love, and everything about it is really enjoyable, even though there are hard times. But when you're doing something that you love, you're able to push through. So it's been super exciting, and um, just looking forward to bringing a project to life. And we're focused on launching pro, starting at the top of the pyramid and then building down. So yeah, so that's One Soccer Nation in a nutshell.
Yes, and I think that's one of those things that kind of I was impressed with is that you guys is not just one facet of soccer or football that you guys are doing, and kind of make it more of becoming a culture of and ingrained within the culture versus just a small pocket of guess what soccer could be. So I guess to kind of bring it back to a little bit of your days and playing days. Could you tell us like where you grew up and how you first got introduced to soccer?
Yeah, so I got introduced to soccer through my cousin Karim Ray.
Okay.
She was a baller. She played striker, scored a lot of goals. So she was the one that I was watching growing up. And kind of, thinking about it now, it's kind of cool because there's a lot of hype and excitement behind the women's game. You got like, besides soccer, you got a lot of women's sports blowing up, like the WNBA. You got in regards to soccer, you got the USL Super League uh, growing. You got the NWSL, and everyone's pushing the women's game around the world now. So it's kind of, when I look back at my history and I see that a female, a woman has inspired me to get into the beautiful game. It's pretty cool thinking about it like that. So she's the one that inspired me, and my mom and my aunt. They asked me, like, I was pretty well rounded in all sports, but they asked me, which one do I want to focus on, and for some reason I chose soccer. So shout out to my cousin.
Yeah, and I think that's quite impressive because many people have asked, kind of who introduced you to the sport of soccer or football. Is either a soccer legend, or they typically have like a sister, aunt, or cousin that actually that was mostly a girl that kind of introduced them to the sport. So that's quite interesting. Yes, especially in the US side where you kind of hear it's like, hey, it's my sister that was playing soccer first. And, I kind of follow them to their soccer journey. And then here I am. So was there any player that you kind of watched growing up that says, I want to be that person when I grew up?
Yeah, that for me was the Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo. For me, Kaká,
Yeah.
Ronaldinho, definitely Ronaldinho for sure. Just the skills and the highlights that I've seen on YouTube. And for me growing up, I grew up playing in Canada, close to Toronto, in the city of Brampton, where a lot of the Canadian national team players come from. A lot, about six,
Nice.
7+ players come from that
Nice.
city. And I grew up playing for actually all the jerseys are behind me. This one right here, Brampton Blast. Spent a lot of time there, a few years there, and then I spent a lot of time in Woodbridge. With Woodbridge is more so like a mini Italy in Ontario, Canada. Brampton is more so like black white mixed per se. So great experiences there at both clubs. And for me growing up, I never really, like, our household wasn't I'm the in my household I'm like the first soccer generation per se, like outside of my
Wow.
cousin, right, in this household. And so like I didn't grow up like watching like a lot of games and watching the full 90-minute game, or like going to watch Toronto FC play and stuff like that. Like I spent a lot of time playing it, spent a lot of time playing like FIFA on console games, and watching highlights on YouTube. So as I got older, I got to experience, few big, go to some of those big games at Toronto FC. I probably went to one handful now. Got to travel outside in England. Got to watch. I think it was Arsenal versus Everton. Um,
That's a good one.
got to watch some soccer. Some professionals, but more so. What do you call it? I think at the lower levels per se. France, I got to watch a League on game, so get that full professional experience, right?
Mhm.
So that's how I would sum up my coming up experience versus like not versus like, people that had their dad and their grandfather, like they always watch 90-minute games and always go to games and stuff like that. So it's a bit different. And especially the time of Canada, where Canada wasn't really a soccer country, versus where it is now. We launched our first professional league, the Canadian Premier League, in 2019, which is just a few years ago.
That's a baby stage, yes.
Yeah. So we're now growing into that. Canada is more so of a hockey nation. So,
Yeah.
and I could say the same for the United States. So soccer now in the United States and Canada, it's growing hugely. And I guess next year is a testimonial to that. We're hosting the World Cup, Canada, US, and Mexico. So soccer is growing in North America.
Yes, and that's why I always like to ask that question. Because I always say I've always been spoiled because it's my whole entire family. If you're a kid and there's a soccer game, 99.99% of the time you will be watching it. Because you don't have any options. So I always like to kind of hear, people that kind of grew up in Canada and the US. So just seeing that from, your youth, one thing that you kind of wish or, now use that as your experience to kind of push the sport a little bit further. How can we can reach those kids that necessarily still don't have access to be able to watch the sport and start late, because I think that's what keeping the US and Canada is, that you have to get introduced to the sport versus when there's a national team game, the whole country is stopped. But
Right.
here you have to compete with 3 or 4 other sports.
Right. So I think, looking at time, like for example, the UK football has been around for 100 plus years, versus in the US, MLS has been around for 30 years.
Yep.
So I think we got to give it time. I think through time, those things will change, and we'll see, the MLS continue to move up the ladder versus, NFL, NBA, MLB. As I think soccer, MLS has passed the NHL, in that, in regards to, those leagues. So I think, just to sum it up, I think we just got to give it time, and through time, those things will change. And I think the other thing too that's interesting is you think about social media, right? The generations that are growing up now, growing up on, all these devices and the technologies and the Uber Eats, everything's so instant. The Amazons order today, get it tomorrow, right? So, you look at, a former Barcelona player like Gerard Piqué starting up a league. I don't know what it's called exactly, but
The Kings League you're referring to?
in a Europe where it's more fast paced,
Yes.
it's smaller pitch, more goals, right? So it's pretty interesting. We'll see how the game continues to develop, what changes, what stays. But I mean, again, I think we just got to give everything time and see how everything evolves.
Yes, and I think PK is like the Kings League that they have, and now we see in the UK they have the Ballers League. So it looks like it becoming a little bit more entertaining, where then it's reaching out maybe the younger generation
Yeah,
and make it gets a little bit more entertaining than just pitch, grass, and net.
exactly.
Um,
So I mean,
yes.
that's I think that's pretty interesting in itself, right? Because it's more fast paced, more goals versus the 90 minutes. So while the younger generation, as they grow up, adapt to the 90 minutes, less goals, a bit more slower build up, or will they stick to the fast pace? So, you know, um, again, things are always changing and evolving as we continue to go. And aside from that, even when we talk about technology, um, and systems, it's like there's so much now, right? In
Yes.
regards to the 90-minute game, we got to check the VAR. Was it offside? And those things didn't exist in Pele's days, Maradona days. So it's changed the game, right? And it's changed the outcomes of so many games that are being played now in the Champions League and all the leagues around the world.
Oh yes, the good and bad. There's a long conversation about this technology, and I guess make games a lot longer as well. But I think that probably will be a full episode if we were to talk about all those fun technologies. So in your experience, you as a player, knowing that you've played in Canada, England, France, and others. So how was that experience for you to kind of learn from each of those stages in your playing career, which led you to um, One Soccer Nation?
So thankfully, through the support of my family and my mom, I was able to have those opportunities. You have to have financials to be able to do those things. If you're not getting signed, right? If you're going out for an opportunity to try to get signed, or for the experience, you have to have the financials to be able to do so. So when I was going out to those countries coming from Canada, I was going for not only the experience of experiencing another country, another culture, to experience the beautiful game of where it's really truly appreciated. But I was also going on a mission to go pro. That was my burning desire, which millions of people want to become a professional player. But the reality really is that 0.0001. It's not 1%. It's very small. It's 0.0001 that make it. Right. What like we need to. I think the thing is that the reality of the expectation of players don't know how hard and what it really takes to get there. So for me, I was on a mission to go pro, and anytime I left the country, left home, left my backyard to go to another country to try to go pro, that's the mission I was on. And throughout that journey, traveling throughout England to France, the United States, the biggest hurdle that I came across was you need a work visa in order to get paid and to stay in that country for a longer period of time. I did not know that going into those experiences. So I was learning through the journey. And I always had the work ethic. Hard work was not a problem. I had the abilities as well as again, to go back to working hard, to continue to building up those abilities. And on top of that, I did get a few opportunities. For example, Reading FC in England was interested in me. But why would they want to spend more time and more money to get a player from Canada when they could find a player in England that's as good as me and do less work, spend less time and money? So that's kind of what happened with one of my situations. When I look at back at Naples FC, I was playing under Matt Poland, who is currently the coach at FC Naples in USL One.
Yep, sure is.
He was coaching at this blue team right here, Naples United FC, MPSL, and then he moved up from the MPSL to Nisa when Peter Wilt, is it Peter Wilt? Peter Wilt, who's the founder, who started up Nisa but sold it. He started that league, and then he ended up founding the team. I think it's like the Chicago House, but they're not.
He's the OG of U.S. soccer. Yes.
Yeah. So he started up that team in Chicago, which I think they're not in the Nisa anymore. But he started that team at that time. Matt Poland moved up, and he was coaching. He was the assistant coach at that team, and then ended up moving up to the head coach position of that team while they're in Nisa. So I saw that as the best opportunity for me to go pro, because I had a really good relationship with him at that time. And he actually asked me, he said, you should look into this and you should come. I saw that as the best opportunity that I had to actually go pro, right? Because Nisa is considered pro, third division, right? Compared to USL One and MLS Next Pro. And I said, this is the pathway to full pro for me. I'm going to get fully certified. So the reason why I saw it as a really good opportunity is because he's going to have a say to the coach to say, hey, I know this guy, some influence, right? Yep. Obviously, I have to make sure I go out to the trial, perform, continue to be a quality player on the pitch and a good person off the field. And I go on the website to check out the trial information, and they're only taking green card holders and U.S. passport holders, citizens, right? U.S. citizens. So that puts a stop to my opportunity right there and then, right? So again, that was one of my biggest hurdles, because it wasn't, it wasn't the financials, it wasn't the ability, it wasn't, the attitude or anything like that. It was just passport. That's the biggest one I came across. Now, today, I'm a green card holder through my dad after 3 years going through the immigration process, but thankfully I have it. So with saying that, flipping it to the world, there's millions of players that are facing financial barriers, immigration barriers, and opportunities. I'll sum it up with those three things. And I personally believe that there are better players that are not playing on the big stage, whether that's MLS or whatever platform,
100%.
because
Yes.
of those barriers. So that's our whole goal with One Soccer Nation, is giving really good players that are good people a real opportunity to go pro. Um, and we have a whole plan and project that we're working on. First is making sure that we secure a club, we secure a market, get the market rights from the league, pay the franchise fee. We have to get a lead investor, a primary team owner, right? That's willing to own, follow the criteria of U.S. United States Soccer Federation and the league USL, that meet their criteria and their the net worth criteria, etc.
Mhm.
To own 35%, acquire the market rights. We got to do everything behind the scenes, get the city on board, get all the raise all the capital needed to launch a pro team, so that in regards to the One Soccer Nation pipeline, so that we could do, basically, to paint a picture for you, Mo, is we want to host a tryout, invite
Okay.
100 players, 80% from the US, 20% international, because we could sign seven international players. We have 7 international slots for a pro team, and guarantee that 25 or 30 players will sign a professional contract after this tryout. But during the tryout, whether it's a week, however long we plan it, if it's 4 weeks, whatever makes sense economically, and that makes sense timely.
Right.
And we want to add a reality TV show component to it, which has already been in the works, to document. It's like a really good player to pro, or amateur to pro, or rags to riches, right?
Yeah.
Documenting all the excitement, the drama, the emotion of players getting an opportunity to change their lives to get paid for what they love to do, right? And it basically, for example, the best thing I could do is recreating the UFC Ultimate Fighter, right? They
Oh,
had the set up. They're inviting the guys that are good fighters and saying, "Hey, you guys could win a contract. You got to perform. We're going to document this. Your regular life, what you guys do outside of the boxing, the octagon or
yeah.
whatever."
Outdoor lights and everything else. Yes.
Yeah. So that's basically the marketing aspect of what we want to do to highlight players. Especially, again, we're living in a time with social media. People love to see behind the scenes. They don't only want to watch 90 minutes now.
Yep.
People are looking at players' Instagrams, they're following their lives, their YouTube channels. What are they doing off the pitch too? What are they wearing? Right. So it's so technical now. It's so sophisticated per se in regards to the technology, but people are really interested in these things. Right. So, if you're looking at even streamers, I Show Speed or Kai Sinat, these guys are not editing the videos. People are watching them live. So going back to players, if we could turn them into a superstar through media, because people like their attitude or how good they are on the pitch and how cool they are off the pitch, for example, I think that's a great marketing opportunity. Now, so not only with that, not only are we focusing on the players, and they're going to be signing a professional contract, but also highlighting the city, right?
Right.
Putting
Correct.
the city on the map. People that had been involved in bringing this project, getting their perspectives, their stories as part of the project, documenting building the stadium up, right? From finding the site to building it up. Um, Everyone a part of the club that's working on the front office. I think these are all stories and cool perspectives to document for the club's history, as well as we're living in a time where we could do that, and as well share it with the world. And I think Wrexham, Ryan Reynolds, Welcome to Wrexham, is a
Yes.
great example of that, but with super deep pockets and star power. But I think it still could be done without that. Um, but obviously having that expedites everything way faster. But I think it could still be done because, again, starting from the bottom and growing it, and people want to see it, right? So, especially when it hasn't been done from the beginning. But what I'm seeing right now is more clubs starting to do it.
They sure are. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I
And
think,
I think what's fascinating, especially with you guys, and when I was also speaking with Sam with Select Generations, the good thing that I'm seeing now these days, and which kind of makes it a lot more exciting, is that all of the people that have either played and have all different experience in the world of soccer because it's so global. So we all have our own stories and our own pathway to soccer. So
Yeah.
it's good to finally see it's not just, the guys that have made it to the top level that are coming back to help. It's just that anyone that's kicked a ball before, no matter what level they've been to, people like you and Sam and others are giving back their time, effort, and money to not only showcase your city and your country, but also help other communities that don't necessarily have the opportunity that I always said myself that I was fortunate. I grew up in Paris. We've have soccer everywhere. We have the Pogba of our generations and all that are from our neighborhood. So it's good to now see that some kids in the US, Canada, and others can see the progression of, someone that's from their street, from their neighborhood, and follow them all throughout to wherever they went. Versus, it's nice to have a kid in the US that say, hey, my favorite soccer player is Messi. Like, of course. But if you ask them, who's your neighborhood player that may have probably is better than anyone else that came out of your neighborhood. There are circumstances of however you want to see it have preventing them to become that person. And it looks like that's what you guys are doing on your side is showcasing those players, see their normal life of what the struggles that they go through and not just the lime life that you see. So that's why I kind of do this podcast is to kind of promote guys like you and girls that are putting the hard work may not have all the lights, the money, and everything yet, but are making strive to actually help those that are want to make it to the next level, or maybe you want to be a sporting director next.
Exactly. And I think that, again, that's why I was, so appreciative of you having me on your platform, Mo, because I think it's important for individuals to share what they're building, and for public, with the internet, anyone can watch it, and people that watch it that could potentially help can see it, and that's an opportunity. So I think that's great. Um, and with saying that, I wanted to touch on the economics too quickly of the reality TV show of what it could help increase is increase sponsorship dollars, because not only USL clubs are focused on local sponsorships, but with the
Mhm.
reality TV show attached to it, it could increase sponsorship by international sponsorships potentially, as well as increasing merchandise sales of the club because merch can be bought online.
Yep.
Um, I was saying that we're almost at the point of raising capital for the club. So for One Soccer Nation, I've went through the process of raising capital through a safe agreement from family and friends, and in conversation with a few angel investors and VCs. We're almost at the stage of setting up the entity of the club. Once we get full clarity of with the city, we've got the green light. I can't disclose the city right now, the market, until we've got secured the market rights and we know we have something. The league has something formal with the city. But once we accomplish a few more steps on that side, then we could set up the entity of the club, and we could start raising capital and start looking for that PT. I mean, we've already started. We've been in the process for about a year plus now, continuing to have conversations with different type of investors. We're very flexible and open to a multi-club ownership portfolio. Family office investors, VCs, SPVs, angel investors. So we're in that process. That's where I want to focus most of my time soon, is on the investment side and the raising capital side,
Mhm.
because everything moves on capital. So
Yes.
that's the side I want to be on full time. But I do have experience in regards to raising capital for One Soccer Nation and have successfully raised capital. I also secured my first investor in the U.S. End of last year, December. Had to file Form D with the SEC, so we're fully compliant. Um, and again, we're taking the steps that we need to take to launch a pro team in the U.S., specifically in the USL. We're pretty biased because of the relationship that I built up with the league. If you see this This one right here, it's the USL
Jacksonville.
Summer Showcase, it was in Louisville
Oh yeah.
and Kentucky, Louisville, and it was like a 2 day private event hosted by the league, um, where you had the league operators that were there, existing club owners, and new club owners like ourselves, new investors interested to invest in USL, to touch, feel, shake hands, learn more about the league and clubs. And it was an amazing game, amazing, one of the best fields that USL has. I mean, club wise, is Louisville. That's such
Yes,
a unique
yeah.
experience. And that was back in 2022. That was the event that really changed my life. And so I said to myself, I said, this is the individuals that I want to be around, and this is the space that I want to work in. And here we are today, building out a template for launching pro soccer teams in the U.S. and and hopefully it could be a template. Well, not hopefully, it will be a template that we'll be able to use internationally. That will just need some tweaks, but that's what we want to be. We want to streamline the investment into professional soccer and launching clubs.
Yep. Yeah. So, and I think that'll probably be soccer small community. So, hopefully anyone that's listening to here that's thinking about joining one soccer nation, and there's plenty of space. The US is a huge country, so there's still time for a lot more investors to. The more soccer clubs there's in the country, the better the the US, Canada, and I guess Mexico also will do a lot better. So so for the One Soccer Nation, so if a kid were to ask you, what is one of the hardest lessons that you've learned while trying to build up that club, what would that be?
Yeah. Well, Mo, if I could just add on before I answer that question, if I could
Yes.
add on to what you just said about there's so much land in the U.S. and first world country, huge population, 300 million people plus. If we look at the map of the UK, there's tons of teams in the infrastructure of professional soccer, all the way from Division One to I don't know what Division 10
Yep.
Pro, still pro, promotion relegation.
To amateur, pretty much, they're all there.
US doesn't have that yet, and I think that when I talk about investments with investors and soccer individuals within that space, we talk about US versus the UK. I'm always promoting the US side, right? Because
Of
that's
course.
where we're starting off in. So I'm biased, but I think it's so cool, which you can't do this in the UK, to start a club from scratch and buy your way in. This is the thing you can do: buy your way in into whether it's Division One, Division Two, or Division Three pro soccer. You can't do that in the UK unless you're buying an existing club. So we're
Yes.
talking about starting a brand new club. So you couldn't do that in the UK. On top of that, you're creating the name, the logo. Obviously, the best way to do it is with the community, get them involved, right, to assist with that. On top of that, the opportunity for real estate, right? Soccer being the anchor, but these projects now, as again, they're mixed use development projects. So I think if you look back 2 decades ago, the conversation was investing in soccer, but now it's really where we are now with investments in soccer is the real estate aspect of it.
Yep.
Building a stadium, for USL one is minimum. I think it's a minimum around 5,000 seat stadium. Not only that, but that's soccer being the anchor of that, and other real estate that could be around. It could be commercial, residential, retail. So I think that's where investors get that stability on the real estate side to balance out the club side, because the club is a slow burn, and it does take. Okay, so looking back about a few decades ago, say 2 or 3 decades, soccer investment was focused on the soccer aspect of it. But now, where we are now is soccer. Investors are investing into soccer, not only investing into building a 5,000 seat stadium plus, right? In the United States, they vary between, for USL one, between, has to be a 5,000 seat stadium versus USL Championship is more up in the 10,000s. And then obviously MLS is a different beast. With saying that, investors are not only just investing in soccer. Soccer is the anchor of the investment, but there's other real estate that are a part of the project, whether that's retail, hospitality, commercial, residential. So that the investment of the real estate really balances out the investment into the club. So, making sure that investors are secured, and having that stability is important, and that's why we're seeing a lot of investors invest into soccer in the U.S. And not only that, again, it goes back to land and space. So these projects could become very big. You got, the project with Brett Johnson, Rhode Island, a $400 million project. They did built 11,000 plus seat stadium, and is right across. They're even building a bridge just to connect. The apartments are literally going to be a walk away from the stadium. But again, the city allowed them to build a bridge for this project, right? Because there's like I don't know if it's like a lake, or maybe no, lake's not the best way to describe it, but there's a huge amounts of water. So they had to build a bridge to connect the two. And then again, mentioning that, Steve Livingstone, $1 billion mixed use development project. So in Florida, Jacksonville. So these projects could become very big. And the thing I've heard multiple times in the raising capital space is, the bigger the project is, it's easier to raise a huge amount of capital versus a smaller amount of capital, right? Some investors won't even look at you if you're not even 100 million plus. Just speaking in regards to meeting the criteria, but that's the way I look at it. And again, it's just a saying that I've heard so many times. It's the same amount of time that you're going to spend raising, $100 million. Yeah. No, sorry. The same amount of time that you could spend raising $10 million is the same amount of time and effort that you could be putting into raising $100 million. So it's really dependent on the project and the economics of raising the capital for a project.
Which is madness when it's 10x and it's still the same amount. So, and we do see a lot of people. That's where hedge funds and everything are coming into the sport, because it's not in. They know it's not just the field and the product on the field, is everything else that comes. And fortunately, soccer is a lucrative sport, so it's not a money pit like most leagues where you're stuck in one country, and if your team does not work well, you can just pick it up and put it into another market. In soccer, you can't just pick up a stadium and put it across the street. So, um, quite interesting. So when it comes to also for your project, is there one thing that you kind of like to show that differentiate what you're working on versus other projects that have similar targets?
So we're in the midst of it right now. We're still working on launching this project. Something that differentiates us, that I've heard actually from the league and other individuals within the space, is that at One Soccer Nation we have a really really good team, a strong team of sophisticated individuals and experts within their respective spaces, that are advisors. So whether that's ticketing, sponsorship, we have we have a legal sports legal advisor. I think I've been able to cover the different aspects that we need into being able to have a strong team, individuals to learn from, and to help get this project across the line. So I always hear that is we have a really good team, really good individuals a part of the project, assisting and pushing the ball forward for us. And then the second thing I would say is the plan that we're working on in regards to the reality TV show aspect. I haven't seen it done in any USL club do it. I think something close to what we want to do, Portland, Maine. They have some episodes. They're doing some documentary on the club, and I've heard they're on a network, but I'm not too sure. So, but I've watched a few things on their YouTube. There's New Mexico United that they're coming out with their own stuff, their media. And then again, I don't think there's. I mean, from what I've seen, any USL club do this yet, or even MLS per se. But with saying that, I did see MLS just they announced about a month or so ago, onside,
Yep,
right?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
U.S. is media is just getting started in regards to documentaries in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I think we're at the beginning stage of that.
Oh yes, and the entertainment side of things, they're definitely doing that differently. For us at St. Louis, when you have the games, and here's it's pretty much like they say, it's like almost like a concert before the game and a concert after the game, and they even have a party after the game in their ultra thing. So it's definitely the entertainment side of things. It's definitely working, especially for the U.S. market. to kind of bring in more people. So just to close out on the building of the club. So is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners when it comes to one soccer club in nation? Anything that you want to share about that project?
Yeah. So uh, our goal with One Soccer Nation is to launch multiple clubs. We want to grow within the multi-club ownership structure. Obviously, starting off with one, focusing on launching our first one, and doing that successfully is extremely important. So we can start building out our track record on the soccer investment side. And with saying that, um, it's a slow burn and it's not easy. It's extremely hard. You got to have the resources, the capital, the systems, and the team to be able to push something this big, or climb this huge mountain. So um, it's a tall task, but we have the energy, the ambition, um, and there's another word I'm looking for that's not coming to mind, but we have what it takes to do it, and we're working through it as we speak right now. And I'm just extremely grateful and excited to bring this project to life. And once we do achieve that goal and announce it and share it with the world, um,
I'll
I
show up.
think Mo,
Yes,
you're
I'll be
invited.
there.
You're invited. So anyone that we've talked to that I've shared this vision, I've always invited them out. Like once we get to that point, it's going to be a huge celebration, because the stories I could tell you, Mo, that the things that I've been through, I've done, the work that we put in, the time, it's all there. So it's only a matter of time to say. But we're focused. We're locked in.
It sounds like that will be another book in itself on how all that started and
Yeah.
ended.
And it could be a show too. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah, looks like
I think it's unique. Mo, I got to be honest, it's extremely unique, because usually how these projects come, it's guys that sold companies. They want to get into something new. They have the capital. They're buying the franchise. They get the market rights, and they're building up the team. This is a different story. We're talking about building from the ground up.
yep.
Soccer player just having a vision and bringing it together and working it up. So it's different.
Yes. So I guess just to bring it a little bit back to that podcast that you guys are doing. So I had Channing not long ago, to promote his 1% book and all that. So could you tell us a little bit more about, the host of that? I mean, how you and Channing actually connected?
Yeah. So me and Channing, we connected on social media. Um, yeah, we connected on social media, and we had him on our podcast. I didn't host the interview. I actually introduced him to Kayla Hansen, who's another one of our podcast
Yes.
co-hosts. She's currently playing for AFC Toronto and the NSL, the first professional women's league in Canadian
Nice.
history. At the time, she was actually playing in Europe, so she just came back to Canada. Um, and I introduced them to each other. And I asked Channing if it would be cool if Kelly could do it, and he said yeah. So they connected. They ended up doing the podcast. Kayla hosted it, and then from there we just stayed in contact. And I feel like we did something. We had another collaboration, but I'm not currently
Yeah,
remembering. I'll just leave that
so
out.
many things. Yes.
But in regards to me and Channing, we just recently connected. We chopped it up, and we spoke about the podcast. I said I think this might be a good add-on to what you're doing to continue assisting you with leveraging your profile, building your online presence. I mean, you have a great profile in regards to
Yes.
graduating Omaha University, um, state of Omaha, playing professionally
Iowa. Yep.
for Phoenix Horizon and USL Championship. Unfortunately, getting injured, and then writing, a book of the 1% and building out that brand. And he wants to start a non-for-profit, so he's working on that. I said, I think, the One Soccer Nation podcast could be a good touch to what you're doing, and I could assist you with these things that I'd mentioned in regards to assisting you with the media, the podcasting, that exposure, as well as we attend events right now in June next month. We go to a lot of events. I've been to the U.S. Soccer Foundation, the United Soccer Coaches event, USL's events. We're heading to next month Conflict, which is it's going to be their first time in Miami. They host multiple events internationally. It's their first one in Miami in the U.S. I'm also attending Green Sports Alliance, so I mentioned to him, if you want to be a part of these events, we could bring you, as well as with negotiations with contracts. I've again started from the bottom and growing. We've been able to grow within the media space, and in regards, for example, in regards to Conflict, we're getting podcast space for the day. We're on their website. There's a lot of cross promotions. We're going to be in their print, their physical print. I'm narrating my first panel discussion. I've done panel discussions on the One Soccer Nation podcast. I've done two, but this is going to be my first one. And I was told I was only doing one, but now, like last week, I was told I'm doing two. So it's huge. So it's great exposure. The first one is the one I asked for. It's going to be on club ownership. Okay. And then the second one is going to be on something in regards to regulatory governance, in regards to multi-club ownership. Mm-hmm. So those are two discussions those are the spaces, again, I want to be in and be involved in. And I think this is a huge step forward for that. And, looking forward to those recordings and those being published. Hopefully we could get our own copy so we could redistribute it. But yeah, so that we're doing that. And then what else? And then, obviously that comes with credentials, free credentials of us being a part of that event. Yeah, I mean, we're now, I know what we're worth now. We leveled up from SoccerX. We usually would only get credentials, but now it's Conflict's a level up for us, and now I know what to negotiate for when we're attending future events. And the next one that I want to attend is the World Football Summit. So my goal is hopefully to be consistently attending these events and be more involved in regards to narrating discussions, have our podcast space, and be more in person.
Yep. Yes, and the reason why I was asking is that you always see soccer players or people that are within the soccer community always reach out to each other and collaborate in others. So it's one of those. It might be a global sport, but it's still a small community where we're always talking to each other so it's always see the Shining working with you and working with others. Seeing what he's doing with the kids in this community is also good. So there's many facets of people within the world of soccer. So, and so just to close out on that part. So now I have quite some fun questions to see, what Kareem is all about when it comes to soccer. So other than, your cousin, and so who was one of those players outside of Ronaldo that you kind of look up to? It could be recent or just in the past few years.
That's a good question. I couldn't say there's a player recent. I've been catching up on the highlights, so I haven't been watching one specific player. But I would have to say, recently, Messi's been on top of Ronaldo for me. I'm not gonna say like I'm a diehard like Ronaldo fan or anything like that. It was just like I preferred Ronaldo over Messi. But the reason why now I'm Messi over Ronaldo is because it's not even the World Cup, but that's huge. Yeah. It's the fact that he's in the US, right? And I'm biased towards the US. So he's really pushing the envelope for MLS and for the United States. So putting the US on the international map of football, and the World Cup is the most watched sport in the world by billions of people. So I think David Beckham, man, what a guy. The things that he's doing within US soccer. So I'm biased again to the US. So I think
there's no shame. As you should be.
Yes, I would have to see, Messi is more so not looking up to, just more so. I mean, obviously you got to look up to the guy for the accomplishments in soccer, but besides that, I'm more so like just thankful for Messi and grateful that he's here in the U.S. promoting the game. So that's exciting.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So if there is like your dream guest on your podcast, who would that be?
Dream guest. That's a good one. I like that one. I would say, obviously, you want the big superstar, but I think where we are right now, like, I'd have to say I have multiple dream guests. It would
Go
be,
ahead.
I want to have all the club owners in the US on the
Okay.
podcast. And, if, I have to be biased again. No, I don't have to be, but I am biased towards USL. So I'd start off there having all USL 1, USL Championship club owners. Would love to have the owners, the Papadakis family, Justin Papadakis on the podcast. Um, more of the front office individuals at USL to continue building up that relationship, and eventually maybe MLS owners. So I would say club. That's what I would say. Club owners
Okay,
and
nice.
club owners around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, so one that just recently won a championship, whoever they play, that might be a very nice one to have. So outside of your book, is there any other sporting book that you can one of your most prized item or that you've read recently that kind of help you through wherever you're going at this moment, building club and etc.
So what's really helped with that is my team. Doing interviews with club owners. Again, just interviewing everyone, learning from everyone, reading documents online, public documents. FIFA has a whole bunch of documents if you're trying to learn about player transfer markets, etc., and all that stuff. There's a whole bunch of information on the internet. Again, like we have a partnership with the Labella Associates.
Yeah.
So we're working with them. They're USO's preferred architects. So just being able, my favorite way to learn is from individuals and the information that they share with me, documentations or conversations. In regards to, I haven't read any sporting books, like not even one. It's again been all documents. But other than that, to mention a book, my favorite book is by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. So if you could host the One Soccer Nation podcast anywhere in the world in person, where would that be?
Well, you're asking some good ones, man.
Yeah, we all have our dream. For me, will be Stamford Bridge. If I could have, as a Chelsea fan, if I could host a podcast there and have, you know,
I would do
Drogba, I'll die for.
I'd do somewhere in Saudi Arabia. I don't know the clubs, but I'd do Saudi Arabia just because of I'd want to be there building the relationships out there. But,
You, you
yeah.
you sound like it. You sound like the right soccer person that's trying to build the club because literally anyone that I know that either has an app, a business, or something that has to do with soccer right now, Middle East, Qatar, Saudi Arabia is like the place where everybody meets.
Hmm.
So that's a good answer.
I think like just they're facilitating the capital out from oil into other investments, and they're moving fast,
Yeah.
right? Like, so like, for example, like I spent a lot of time here in Canada, Toronto. We have a family house in West Palm Beach, Florida, so I go back and forth between the two, but spend majority of time here, which I'm hoping to transition soon more to the US. But Canada is very conservative. The US is way faster. My perspective, I'm not like an economics guy or anything like that, but
Yeah, it's a soccer podcast.
my perspective is Saudi Arabia is moving way faster than the US in regards to investing large amounts of capital like that. So that's just my perspective, outsider perspective. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I can see it. There's literally events every time I ask someone that have an app or that's doing anything with sport related. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to another Dubai event." So
Yeah.
yes, makes total sense.
You know
Um,
what? You know what, Timo?
yes,
I just
right.
want to share a quick story. There's a gentleman named So Hyul.
Okay.
He's from Canada. He's a year older than me, so in 99, he was trying to go pro, traveling around all through the world. It was his best friend, his partner, documented it all. He's like a social media guy too. They started a club up in Dubai, and He went pro in Dubai, and I had him on the podcast too, right? But your environment, the point of my story is your environment is extremely important because he would, I'm from Canada too. I'm not working on starting a club in Canada. I'm working on starting a club in the US because there's kind of like a really hard barrier of entry in Canada, right? It's a very, very tight circle and kind of like a ceiling over your head versus the US. It's so big. There's so much opportunity, right? And in Dubai, kind of similar aspect. So he started a club. He has a logo. They have a name. They have players. They're playing in a semi-professional league. But the individuals that you're going to come across in Dubai, right? Like, when I think about Dubai, it's fast paced, young people, it's the best of the best. There's money, and when you see someone like Sohail, eventually there's going to be an individual that wants to get behind it and invest. And actually, one of their partners is like a part of a royal family, so he already has. Like, they're out there connecting on a yacht with Vinny Jr. and stuff like that. So like,
not too bad.
Being all the superstars, so like they're already on their way, right? So the reason I mentioned Sohail is just your environment is so important is a huge dictator. It has a huge dictatorship in your projection of growth.
Right.
So for me, I mean, everything I've done, like when I registered the company of One Soccer Nation LLC, I registered in the U.S. in Delaware, with the whole focus of building in the U.S. All my contacts are based in the U.S. Like 80% of my contacts. So, and then obviously the 20% we think internationally, we think global with the online. But yeah, I think that's the unsolicited advice I would give to the next generation. Your environment is extremely important for growth.
Oh yes, that's why you surround yourself with people that wants to win. That's the long way to go. So I guess the last very one where I think we're probably going to test your alliances. So Canada and US are now hosting the World Cup next year. So how do you feel of who's going to make it the furthest between the two countries?
I would say my top four semifinals. I would say France, Spain, England. Those would be my top three. I know I have to choose the fourth club, but I don't know what country I would choose.
So how far do you think Canada will make it to?
Maybe, depending on the countries that they get, maybe out the first stage.
Okay, US.
I'd want them to go far to win, right? Maybe a Canada US finals, but
Hey, why not?
you never know. But I'd say similar. I'd say they'll probably make it out the group stage, and that's it.
All right. So out of your top three, who do you think has the greatest chance of winning it all?
I'm gonna say I'll predict potentially a Spain France finals.
I like it. I still have nightmares of the European Championship, but I guess that's another therapy session that I'll have to go to on that part. So Karim, definitely appreciate your time. I know we've had that little hiccup that I'll have to fix. And kind of good to see all of the connections that we have as well. So, for any parting ways, anything that you like to share with the youth, um, of US and Canada when
Yeah,
it comes to soccer.
I would say I always like to say work hard, but also work smart. My unsolicited advice. And what else? And follow your heart. Connect. Work with good people. Do the right things. Stay true to what you know and what you want to do, and continue to learn. And um, those would be some of the things I'd share. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And prepare yourself so when his club is ready, just make sure you reach out to him first step on the next feature of soccer, right?
Exactly. So when that time comes, well, everyone will know. So we're excited.
Excellent. Well, Kerem, definitely appreciate your time. And for those of you that just listen, make sure you like, subscribe, and do all that fun internet thing that we all do. And make sure you also follow Kerem in our social and also One Soccer Nation. So I'll make sure I put all of the details in the comments below and in all the marketing part. So, Karim, as always, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Well, well, thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your platform and love what you're doing. Continue to do what you're doing, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, the next time we'll connect, digitally online for the records. The next time I'll make sure this is that we have a club launch, and I'll be sharing that with your audience. So,
Hey,
if I'm, you know,
I'm in Florida almost 3 times a year. I'm either in Tampa, on Sanibel Island, or in Miami. So we have options.
we'll
I
connect.
just have to let you know.
We'll do it in person.
Yes.
Give us some time. Once we get there, we'll do it. We'll make sure that me and Mo will do it in person.
Excellent. Yes. All right. Thank you all, and you all have a blessed day.
Thank you.